Hello friends, today we will discuss demography and demographic indicators. This is a part of the series demography second lecture. Last time we discussed fertility and fertility indicators. So at the end of this session you should be able to understand what is demography, what is demographic cycles, what are the important demographic indicators. You should be able to enlist or describe the hazards of population explosion. Similarly, you should be able to comment on sex ratio and what is the social and health implication of the falling sex ratio in the country. And last, you should be able to describe what to understand the concept of family planning and National Population Policy 2000. So today we have a big session ahead in front of us. So let's start. What do you understand by demography? As the word demo means people in Greek and graphy means measurement. So it is a scientific study of human population, measuring the people. It's known as demography. So you can see this map. Countries by population density. India is one of the most densest country. So even we are second to China. If the land area is considered, we have much less land area. In fact, roughly one third of the land area, not exactly one third, little more than one third, but still much less than China. So our density of the population is very high. What are the main concepts or concern with demography? What is the size of the people? How the people are distributed? What is the structure? Means age structure, gender structure, religion. We as human tend to divide ourselves in many various groups depending on the language, caste, creed, even our education, what and what not. So how the group of these people is structured, change, how the population of a community changes. It's by birth, it's by death, it's by immigration, it's by immigration. So it's by people coming from outside and it's for people going outside for work. So population in of community is always dynamic. Remember that it always the composition it keeps on changing. Then development. So socioeconomic, you must have heard developed nation, developing nation, underdeveloped nations. These concepts are there. It depends on various measurements and factors: GDP, GDP per capita, GDP with purchasing power parity. These are some important indicators. But so we study this, and other are genetic inheritance, intelligence, health. So all these aspects are come under demography. So, how the demography changes? There is a social mobility. What is social mobility? You must have heard the stories. The person who was very poor and then he started this business. He started working here and there, and now he is a chairman of one of the biggest conglomerates. So, what happened? The person went from lower class to middle class. So there is a social mobility. So many times this happens. People move from lower class to upper class, middle class, and maybe some in bad stroke of luck, some people who were rich previously become poor. So the social mobility is continuously present. This is not just regarding the economics. Social mobility regarding the importance in the in the community. It doesn't mean that rich are always important. Even a mill worker, if he becomes a union leader, he becomes very important because he can stop the whole factory's work just by raising alarm or starting a strike. So social mobility is a complex situation. Then as we consider basic, what are the demographic process? It's fertility, it's birth, then mortality or death, marriages. This is very important. There is a concept of in many communities there is the even the women of the men and women of the same village, specifically in Haryana, are not allowed to marry. They have to marry outside the village. So the mobility happens, demographic mobility happens due to marriage. And then there is a migration. People come to your community, people go out from your community. So this the migration is happening every day. The uses of demography as a public health administrator. So why we need to study demography? Why we need to study demography? To plan the health of the people. First of all, you should be able to identify what are the important diseases, how they are distributed, not just geographically but socially among the people, which age people are more affecting, which gender people are more affecting. So all this distribution you have to understand. Secondly, you should understand what are the needs of the people, what are the unmet needs specifically of the people regarding the health. That has to be understood. If you don't know what is the extent of the requirement, your health programs will never succeed. So a success of any program depends on knowing the population, knowing the group which are your target audience. That is important. Then understand the leading cause of mortality and morbidity in the area, to find out the innovative solutions from the community, that through community participation and appropriate technologies for solving the local health problems, and also to predict what will be the future requirement, because we always have to be ready. If we are not ready, then it becomes very difficult in case of any emergency. So always planning for the future is very important, and that's why we have to know how much we have to do. Now, how the demographic data is collected? First and most importantly, census. It is carried out every 10 years, except this currently due to in 2020 due to pandemic it was not calculated. But every decade, the census data is collected. Census data means in a limited period of time, every household is visited, and the data from every household is collected throughout the country. This is a census. This is a big event. Then registration of vital events. Birth and death registration is very important. Every birth and every death has to be registered with the local authorities, and through that registrations we get detailed information. Then regular survey are done. Then there is a sample registration system. So these things will be dealt with in the subsequent topics. So I am not going in detail, but these are all important sources of demographic data. Now, every country, every community generally goes through the demographic cycles. Uh, Most of the countries are now not in the first cycle, but most of them are in the subsequent cycles. What are the demographic cycles? You know that until 1850, the population of world was growing very, very gradually. It take a millennia to reach 1 billion people. But after the Industrial Revolution, the population growth has been very rapid, exponential, specifically, and especially in the second half of 19th century, the growth has been very fast. So, what are the steps that happen? So, first step in demographic transition is, or first stage is high stationary. What do you understand by high stationary? See, population is here. This is the population curve. In first stage, that curve is at lower side because the population is very low. However, death rate and birth rate is very, very high. Many people are dying every year. Life expectancy is very low. However, birth rate is very high because each families, surviving families will have multiple children, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 human also. Why this is the case? This was generally case in most of the countries prior to 19th century. Some countries were out of the stage much earlier, but still it was roughly the same. Why? Because during that period there was high illiteracy. Most of the population depend on the farming and petty works for sustenance. Religions were strong, and most of the religions do not advocate any type of contraception, no exception, most of the religion. So religious effects very high. There was less scientific knowledge. There was very poor availability of any contraception. So number of children being born was very high, and again death rate was very, very high. Children were dying left and right. No control or epidemics. There was no vaccines. Any healthcare was very far and few. So that's why people were having multiple children, because the probability of their children surviving until adulthood was very very low. So even though there was much dynamic process due to high birth and high deaths, overall population remained stable or at high. That is why this is known as high stationary. Death rate and birth rate is very high, but population remains stationary. Okay. Then second phase, it generally came after the industrial revolution. It was early expanding. Currently, few countries like Egypt, Kenya, not even Egypt, I will say, but some African countries are in this current phase. This is early expanding. What happens whenever medical care improves? Vaccinations are available, antibiotics are available. First thing goes down is death rate. So people survive more. Okay, but still overall experience of the people of last generation, that we need multiple child because most of them won't survive, or the dependence on agriculture or basic manual labor is high. So people believe that number of children is going to be their best asset. And then religious effects are also high, illiteracy is very low. So what all this comes together, and that's why birth rate remains high. Birth rate does not decrease at all. You can see birth rate here is remaining same. However, due to use of vaccines and antibiotics, the death rate drastically reduces. See, this is the most easiest death, avoidable deaths. These are the most easiest avoidable deaths. Little bit better health system, a very little better vaccination system, and immediately death rate goes down. So what happens? This gap increases. So growth rate increases exponentially, and that is why this curve shorts up. India was in this phase until 1990s. So the here population expands very very much, doubling time, reduces very low. So every 10-12 years population doubles itself. So this is a exponential growth stage. Then comes late expanding. Here what happens? Slowly economic development. As you see, this birth rate has increased so much. There are many, in next generation there are many young people who will work and earn money, earn livelihood. So slowly economic development happens. Similarly, educational development increases, and as education and economy increase, there is chance that older practices start reducing. So now more and more people accept the contraception, more and more people care about, start saving for the future. So they believe in assets in form of liquidity, shares, investments, instead of considering children as asset. So slowly children start to become from asset to a little bit liability. They start to become expensive. So number of children start decreasing, and here the birth rate slowly decreases and death rate falls even more. But now you can see that these death rate are difficult to avoid. That here you need very sophisticated system. So now ORS, just giving ORS or just giving antibiotics won't stop the deaths now. Then you need expensive centers, development and research centers, CT scans, availability of CT scans, MRI, sonographies, availability of doctors who are well trained surgeons, super specialists. So all these increases to reduce the death rate even more. So still death rate goes on decreasing, but death rates fall is slower now, but birth rate falls a little bit more rapidly. India, Brazil are currently in this stage. Then fourth stage comes low stationary. So now population has risen to this area, so it's not a low for population curve, but however birth rate and death rate reduce very much to the halt. So you can see here also both were now cancelling each other, birth and deaths, and population was remaining stationary. Here also they come to similar plane, and they generally cancel each other, and we get low stationary. US Japan, France, UK, and even Japan is now in declining. And next very stage is declining. At the certain limit, you can't reduce death. Certain deaths are inevitable. But now the country is developed so much. Every woman is working, and as they say, economy is the best contraception, because as the economy grows, people's need grows. The single person earning for 10 people concept now doesn't work. Women have to work, and once women are educated and start working, they will surely have less children, and that is why the birth rate declines furthermore. As you can see here, it comes to lower than the death rate, and the population start declining. Germany, Spain, and many Scandinavian countries are in this phase. These are the most developed countries, remember these two. So as we discussed, this is how demographic cycle worked for whole world. Now currently we are somewhere here, and future predictions, if it continues to grow very high, then we may go to the unsustainable range, and if it stabilizes, then we may even go in decline phase. But I don't think this is going to happen. We will find ourselves in somewhere in this scenario, in between here. Now, as far as India is concerned, India has been continuously increasing population every decade or decade, except in 1921. This was known as period of Great Divide. It was the period of great epidemics, for that matter. But India is currently having nearly 17.7% of the global population. What are the consequences of the rapid growth, population growth? There are economic consequences. The country cannot sustain economically with the increasing population. Though it is said that population brings the labor force, it brings new people, and it helps in economy. Yeah, this is correct. But again, there is a threshold. So you can see that US, for US, it's in population which is third in the world, nearly 30 crores, around 30 crores. The increase in population has actually helped them to expand, to become economic powerhouse, because during the world wars it had more population to produce more as compared to Germany. Germany, though it was more industrious nation, it couldn't stood up to the pace with which US was able to produce. But again, the threshold is important. If the population is very high as our country, then it is a more of economic disaster, because there will be many unemployed people, will be given very petty salaries, so those won't be able to participate in the economy again. Then social effects, there is social hierarchy, there is distrust among people, there is discontent among people. Again, political effects, as you know, the vote becomes sellable. You won't hear the people selling votes in Netherlands, no. But India, you all know, means there are many cases. And even if it's not just directly sold, but voting system becomes for very petty things. They won't vote for how the country, how the person is going to bring out development in my area in next 5 years. Will he bring roads? And they will give vote if he's giving some form of occupation for some days. So political effects and consequences are huge. Again, education, it's very difficult to educate whole population, because the priorities are different. In the pandemic, it is during the 2020 pandemic and 2021 pandemic, it is said that the lakhs of people, children will be out of school. What efforts we have done for last 2-3 decades will be wiped out, because the after the pandemic, due to economic losses, the priority of their parents will be getting some form of employment, and then the children will be forced on doing that. Health, welfare, and child development, everything hampers, because the scale is so huge, the diversity is so huge. it's very difficult to encompass all and take everything. Then environmental deterioration, that is very big problem. Nowadays it's hardly we find some forest reserves remaining, and even that they have encouragement of people. So people don't have a space to live the produce to food. When where they will keep the space for animals to live. So environmental deterioration is huge thing. Garbage, plastic pollution, everything is huge. Even the air quality is very poor. Our cities, our metros like Delhi, these are worst, one of the worst air qualities in the world. So environmental deterioration is very problem. Again, security, more unemployment is more crime, more people moving around, so the negative human mentalities arise, so humanity is at loss. So security problem is also huge. Now what are the demographic indicators? We have discussed last time fertility indicators, so these are also part of demographic indicators. So demographic indicators are divided into population statistics and vital statistics. So population statistics में क्या आता है? Population size, what is the total size of population. Then population density per square kilometer, how many people are living. Sex ratio is important. Dependency ratio, what is dependency ratio, we'll discuss later. Similarly, there is vital statistics also, birth rate, death rate, growth rate. These we discussed last time. One more thing is life expectancy at birth. They will discuss in this will discuss in current session. Again, mortality and fertility rates. These fertility rates have been discussed in last session. So these are the important demographic indicators. The first thing is population size. As we know, India is more than 135 crores population. So that size, that is important. And as we discussed previously, that this is a dynamic process. It never is never constant or stable. Always there are births happening, deaths happening. Similarly, immigration and immigration is happening. So population size is a dynamic process. We tend to take average. So India is very close to China, and it's the second largest in terms of population. The Indian forms 17.5%, even more than 17.5% of the global population. So as I discussed, only 1921 was period of big divide where population decreased compared to previous decade. But since then, every decade population has grown, and that too exponentially. As you can see, there are very few red dots on this global map of population density, and India has quite a few of them, and other is Bangladesh. So Indian subcontinent is a highly densely populated area. If you see the population density within India also, you can see the states which are bordering Bangladesh, which are more populated or highly populated. So Bihar and West Bengal have more population density as compared to other states. Now, age pyramid is very important. How the age composition stacks. India's age pyramid is actual pyramid, where you can see that young people form the basic. So there are large number of under 5 to 10 and 10 to 15 years. So our structure is pyramidal. While if you can see the developed country like France, here the middle portion, that is working population, actually is higher. Okay, so this is not a pyramidal shape, but Indian population age structure is a pyramidal structure. Now the concept of dependency ratio, this is very important. If you see what is working class, generally 15 or even 18, we can say 18 to 60 is a working age. So people in this age are working actually. People under the 15, that is children born from 0 to 15, these are depending on their parents, while the old age people above 60, these depend on their children. This is not one to one case. You may say that my grandfather is having a pension which is huge, so you don't need it. So it's not a one to one situation, but overall if you consider economic situation, from where this pension comes, that pension comes from the taxpayers money. Who pays the tax? These are generally the working people at the age of 16 to 60. So this is the class that works. So dependencies ratio is we add geriatric population and under 15 population and divided by the working population. That is known as dependency ratio. So you can see a dependency ratio is something why it is important to learn, because as our age structure changes, in previous slides we have seen what is the France age structure. Here in that age structure we saw that working population was higher than the young population. So what will happen in the next 20-30 years? Those working people will become old age and the children will become adults. But again the children's population was already low. So when they will become adults, overall dependency ratio will expand because the number of people depending on the young people will increase. So you can see in Japan in 2010, for every one person above 65, there are just above 5 people in the working age group. So 5 people are supporting this one person, but by 2060, due to their age pyramid, what will happen, as there are very few children now, every 2 people just about 2 people have to sustain one above 65. Okay. So now again dependency ratio is now further divided into young age dependency ratio and old age dependency ratio. What happens, this young age dependency ratio, even though this is dependency, current dependency, in next 20-30 years all these starts working and earning and supporting the country. So that is why this is considered as investment. Old age dependency ratio, this seldom means this is a burden. I absolutely don't say that your old people are burden. This is very wrong term. They have worked their way. They have sustained you, your family, or even this country, and now they have a right to live in dignity. So it's not that old people are burden, but as an economic perspective, it is said that old age dependency ratio is more dangerous as it increases the GDP or support system of the country reduces. Working population is reduced. Now, one thing concept is demographic bonus and demographic burden. So what is that basically? Or demographic bonus is also called as demographic dividend. We have studied the graph. Just a second. So your birth rate is increasing initially. Sorry, your population is increasing, and then later it becomes stable, and then it starts declining. Those phases we have studied. Why this is the case? Because birth rate is initially very high, it tends to remain high, then slowly it declines, while the death rate, it is initially very high, it declines exponentially, and then it's slowly plateaus out. At one stage you cannot reduce deaths. So what happens now when the country is in this phase? Just a second. When the country is in this phase, in between this phase, that is late expanding phase. What is happening here? birth rate is still considerably higher, but death rate has just started to reduce or just reduce to a developed nation, nearby developed nation. So what will happen in that period, in that sweet spot, in that period of 20-30 years, um, there will be more young people and dependency rate will be very low, especially the old age dependency, that is old age dependency is very low, and whatever dependency is there, that is young age dependency, that is huge. So when those young people will become adult, suddenly the country will have huge number of working class, and but by the next age, birth rate will reduce, so that next generation will have very less young dependent and very less old dependent also. So overall dependency is very low, and working adults will be very high. In that phase, if the country has invested in infrastructure, invested in the human resources, then that country will suddenly get economic development. It will be suddenly boosted economically because they have huge working class people. If you can give them work, they will contribute to the country's development. But that dividend does not remains forever. After a period of 20-30 and maybe 35-40 years for few countries, it slowly, what happens, that working people will become old. But as the birth rate was very low for them, they have very few children, the the next population or the next wave of young people, the number will be low. So again the workforce will be low. However, the people who are working for those 30 years will become old now, and they will become a old age dependent. So then the slowly human resources become difficult, and the country's development stagnates. So that is known as economic bonus. So if the country can get benefit, invest properly and gets benefit from that, it can push to very high GDP, or not just GDP, it economic progress, and then it can sustain the next upcoming economic burden very easily. So this is just a pictorial display of what we discussed now. Lifespan has increased, family size is reduced, so working adults will be huge, so the labor supply will be huge, people will be saving more, economic growth will be fast. This is known as demographic dividend. Japan had this dividend for from 1964 to 2004. For 40 years it had exponential growth, and we can see that now their GDP is though very high, it has plateaued. Now there is generally there is no development of or increase in GDP for Japan. Similarly, Italy had this for 18 years, and so on. It is expected that Korea will have this until 2027. So now you can see that Korea is booming. Most of the industries, silicon industries, the manufacturing industries are from Korea now. Samsung is there, LG is there. Most of the your mobile technology, this comes from technology is developed in Korea. Manufacturing for many important components like chips, then your displays are come from Korea, but then packaging and everything is done in China. So it is a mixed thing. China also had economic boom, so China has become economic powerhouse now, the most influential country in the world now after USA, or even in some standards more than USA. It is because one of the part is that this has the demographic dividend from 1994 to 2031. That dividend will last for 37 years. Why this happened, why this dividend is decreasing now, and what China is doing to that, that we'll discuss later. So but important is that in 1990s China made very big economic changes, and they opened their market for, even being communist in the, communist country, even then they opened their market for the other countries to invest, and now you can see what economic rewards they are reaping. India's economic dividend has started in 2018. It will last up to 2020. It may last up to 2055. But we don't know what, if we will be able to take benefit of it, or we squander it out. I don't know, I won't comment on that, but okay, let's see and let's hope and pray. Now this was a Times article. China's one child crisis. China for decades had one child only policy. So if the parent had second child, they were penalized for that. So what happened? Their young age dependency reduced. Their old age dependency was very low. They got shot in arm as a huge number of adults who are having only one children to sustain. So they start spending more and the GDP shot up. But what is happening after 30 years now? Since 1990, China is facing a economic boom. But now what has happened in nearly 2025 and now 30 years? That to replace those workers, there is a very low number of next generation. Next generation is not there. Last time we have discussed the concept of net reproduction rate. There should always a mother should be replaced by a daughter, but here with one child policy it was not happening. So now they have seen that their dependency ratio is increasing, their workforce is becomes less scarcer as compared to last generation, and then as any commodity becomes scarce it becomes expensive. So now slowly manufacturing China is become expensive. So what will happen? The companies which came from Europe and US to set up manufacturing plants in China, now they are seeking some elsewhere, maybe India, Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam. So they are finding some other. So those are retreating. This has created a crisis. So if this happens next 20, 30, 40 years, the China will have economic slowdown. So now they have removed their one child policy, and even they are now indirectly intensifying, not directly yet, but indirectly intensifying, having more than 2 3 children, at least those who can sustain. So this was the crisis. So here you can see a structure of China in 1995. It is roughly as compared to India. However, you can see here birth rate has reduced. So under 5 children are lower. But yet 5 to 10 years back birth rate was good. So 10 to 14 year children were higher. So here they got the benefit of the dividend. But see here now, in 2011 what was the case? Most of this population was adult, so that is peak performance of the demography. So next 30 years what will happen again? If this continues, birth rate remains poor, then again the old age people will increase, but however the young people to sustain them will be lower. Now let's talk about the sex ratio. What is sex ratio? Number of female per thousand males, that is known as sex ratio. You can also inversely say that number of males per thousand females. So whatever dividing number of females and males and multiply by 1000 gives you sex ratio. India has a huge problem of missing girl child. The prenatal diagnostic sex selection, diagnostic sex selective abortions, all these have contributed in the imbalanced sex ratio. So for every 1000 male, we have less than 950 female. According to 2011 census, these figures have been skewed even more now. Actually, in natural world, if you do not apply any external pressure, then the number of girl child which who will sustain should be always higher. So sex ratio should be always slightly in favor of women. Always the number of women should be slightly higher if the nothing external force affects. But you can see clearly how much imbalance is there. Now this is even more dangerous. 0 to 6 years sex ratio, as we discussed even in demographic dividend, it's the number of children that will grow in 2030, next 20-30 years, that will grow in adults and that will be sustaining. So 0 to 6 sex ratio is very important. Again, if you can see from 1981 to 1962, it has come down to 1919 only. So nearly 81 less girl childs are present as compared to every 1,000 boys. So this is huge gap. So even if in census you can see slightly better sex ratio from 2001 to 2011, but 0 to 6 ratio is still less. So we are not doing enough to save girl childs. That is the difference. Whatever the better sex ratio is, we are looking. Not better, but whatever the change we are looking is just due to better maternal mortality practices, better health facilities, and women surviving for more than males. Missing girls. So excess female mortality below age 5, that we were discussing last slide, that is 0 to 6 ratio, 0 to 6 uh, sex ratio. So if you can see in India, excess female mortality is 13.5 million. So this much women under 6 are dying actually. It is 11.7% of global mortality, under 5 female mortality. So this is so huge. All this does not include the abortions, sex selective abortions. This is just 0 to 6, the girl child who are born, who are neglected so much, who are not given proper care, that they die. This much excess mortality is there. Generally, actually, females should child 0 to 6 years of age. It's more likely to female child to survive than males. It is a natural course, because genetic disorders are less in females due to XX sex chromosome as compared to XY chromosome in males. But this is the excess mortality. Now, what are the causes? Social attitudes. Male child. Why मेरे घर का चिराग? It's a male preference, gender preference is very important factor for this. Female feticides is I think single most danger that society has brought itself with the development of medical facilities. That is a sex selective abortions. Then the concept of dowry in marriages, all these things led to a negative pressure, negative mentality towards females. So social attitudes and neglect of girl child. ये क्या लड़की पैदा होगी? So they will neglect. Many parents tend to neglect, especially in the certain communities and certain social strata. What are the consequences? By 2020, there could be more than 25 million young surplus males. These people won't get any wife because that is surplus males. So violence against women and girls will increase. The society is already crumbling due to this violence. Again, that may increase. Marriage become problem that will lead to mental and social issues. Again, economic impact is huge due to loss of workforce, and rearing new child becomes more and more difficult in next generation. So fewer mothers are there, so fewer grandmothers will be there, fewer aunts will be there. So rearing practice of child will hamper. जो हम बोलते हैं संस्कार दे रहे, तो कहाँ से दोगे if the women of the societies are less? Social attitudes need to change. Okay. Now one more vital stat is there, life expectancy at birth. What do you understand by life expectancy? It is the expectancy that a newborn child will live up to a certain age if that cohort of newborn experiences mortality pattern what is currently prevailing. So if the child born today, how much years it is expected to live, that we can guess by life expectancy. It is not for individual child. Always remember this, that child may survive for 1 day or even 100 years. So that is not for individual child, that is for a cohort of child born at this juncture, if they experience the same death rates which are being experienced by current population. However, as you know, after 20, 30, 40 years, always development is there, and that development will lead to reduce death rate also. But it is just a life expectancy is a rough figure that will give you general idea of the total of health quality in the country. Now we'll consider the concept of family planning. There are some important key concepts when understanding family planning. First is eligible couples. So any married couple in which wife is in reproductive age group, that is 15 to 45, it is considered as eligible couple. Approximately there are 150 to 180 eligible couples in India per thousand population. That is 150 to 180 women are in reproductive age group per thousand population. Then target couples. Previously, it was considered that eligible couple having 2 to 3 living children were considered as a target couple. But now the concept has been expanded. Even people with one child or even newly married people are considered included in this, because now it is understood that not only number of children, its spacing also is important. So if we can have spacing of 3 to 5 years, most likely the couple won't have third child. So similarly, if there is a spacing, if after marriage the first child doesn't is born not born for first 3 to 4 years, again the couple will most likely have one child only, stick to one child only. So now targeting even newly married couples is also important. So every couple is now every eligible couple is now target couple. So that concept of target couple has lost its significance now. Couple protection rate. It is definition that percentage of eligible couples are effectively protected against childbirth by one or more approved method of family planning. So it may be terminal or spacing. Even if the couple is using barrier method like condom also, then also it is known as protected couple, and it is included in couple protection rate. If more than 60% of the couple are using family planning method, either terminal or spacing, then we can achieve net reproductive rate of 1, that we discussed in the last session. What is net reproductive rate? A new terminology is there, MCPR, that is modern contraceptive prevalence rate. Use of modern contraceptive prevalence rate. So instead of couple protection rate, now it is contraceptive prevalence rate. Again, India holds 17.5% of the global population. That is why it is very, very important that we need family planning. We need to sustain program for family planning and then stabilizing our population. First national population policy was drafted in 1983. India was one of the first countries to have a population policy. Even the India is one of the first country to start a family welfare or family planning program. So though we have started everything very early, but yet we are yet to achieve our goals. So the current population policy was initiated in 2000. It wants to prioritize the policy forming or framework forming and human resources development that will be need to able to meet our goals of stabilizing the population by 2045. What are the objectives? First, immediate is address unmet needs. So wherever a couple, specifically female, has a need for contraception, but that is not met, maybe due to availability, maybe due to the family acceptability or social acceptability, that we have to address. So first and foremost, availability should be addressed. That is very easy to address. Everywhere the women should be accessible to contraceptive services, easily accessible contraceptive services. And secondly, we need health education, counseling of the family to adopt those contraceptive behaviors. Midterm plan is reducing total fertility rate to replacement level of 2.1 by 2010, but that was not achieved yet. And long term plan is stabilizing population by 2045. We are not achieved this, and yet we are still thinking that we can achieve this. Okay, I won't be going to, but these are the objectives basically. 55% of the population living in 24 states and union territory has already achieved the replacement level fertility. So you can see the whatever the yellow section is there, these are the states which have achieved the fertility of at the replacement level, that is 2.1 total fertility rate or net reproduction rate of 1. 10 states are from 2.1 to 3. These include Haryana, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, MP, Meghalaya, and Dadra Nagar Haveli. And more than and 2 states, that is Bihar and UP, have total fertility rate of more than 3. So average number of children woman is expected to have is 3 or more during her lifetime. Now, modern contraceptive uses is 47.8% according to estimates, and as we discussed, we need to increase it to at least 60% to achieve our targets. So, total unmet needs. So you say only 47% are using and unmet needs are only 12.9. These 12.9 are the women who want to use the contraception by themselves, but either due to pressure from their family, due to social pressure, or mostly due to not mostly, but or also due to lack of availability. So these, if we can utilize this 12.9 and add to our current scenario, then we can achieve our replacement our target. Out of that, 5.7% had need for spacing, while 7.2 had need for limiting. That is, this 7.2 wants some terminal contraception. They don't want further children, but yet their need is unmet, and these just want to space their children. National Family Planning Program. India was first country to launch National Family Planning Program. Again, there is a policy. What are the key highlights at the policy level? Target free approach. Previously, what was happening? Every health worker was given some target. They have to conduct so many contraceptions operatives, or they have to do so many things. But what it happened, it resulted in false reporting or coercion, and in long term that is more dangerous than useful. So that is why now target free approach is there. Voluntary adoption of family planning need is there. We don't enforce anybody, but we want to educate everybody will voluntarily accept. It should be based on felt need. What is actual requirement of community? Only we are pushing for terminal contraception, and community need wants spacing contraception. So we have to see what is actually community need, and that on case by case basis we have to accept or provide the family planning methods. And this is known as cafeteria approach. We will put down everything in front of the person, right? Like in cafeteria, a menu is given, and the person has to choose from that menu. Similarly, we give all the options of contraception to a lady and tell the benefits and advantage and disadvantage to her, and let her decide what she wants. And children should be by choice, not by chance. It's not a God's gift. It should be planned pregnancy, planned parenthood. At service level, what are the highlights? More emphasis on spacing. So previously, all the family planning methods were just how much tubectomies are done, and rarely how much vasectomies are done. But now it is how many couples have accepted use of condoms, how many couples or women have used copper T. So all these things are given more importance. Assuring the quality of services, the risks and dangers should be minimal. And expanding choices. Newer contraceptives are added every time in the free government setup also. So what are those? We'll discuss later slide in future slides. Now, key family planning initiatives. First is expansion of choices. Newer contraceptions are added now. Similarly, ASHAs are now given more emphasis. They are trained. Availability of family planning devices with them has been increased. So ASHAs are being involved. Quality of the services has been increased. Similarly, quality of sterilization and copper devices, all this has been improved. we want to increase awareness. That is why health education has been increased. Now in mass media, TV, radios, everywhere ads are been given. That is that will help in increasing the demand for or awareness for family planning services. And there are global commitments. World is looking for India, world is looking to India for reducing its population growth, so we want to achieve those targets also. Now these are the choices under family planning program. These are available. So there are temporary methods and permanent methods. So these are the choices available, made available. These are the brands. Even if you see, previous branding was different, nowadays branding is also different. So young modern branding is being brought by government, so that is known as social marketing. Now what I was saying, the expansion of the present choices. So injectable contraceptives, once injected they can provide protection for many months. Some are there for even 5 years, up to 5 years are there. Then progesterone only pills, these pills have less side effects, so they are increased. So newer intrauterine devices has been introduced, okay, and newer techniques that immediately after pregnancy or delivery, the copper device has been used for spacing. So all these newer choices are available now. Basically, ashas are accredited social health activities. These are the grassroots level health workers present in every village in the country now. So these are more involved in the family planning scheme now. They give home delivery. आजकल home delivery का जमाना है. So everything comes from Amazon, Flipkart. Like this, government through ASHA systems is giving home delivery of contraception. So OC pills हर महीने के every month will reach in the house directly. That lady will come and give ये लो आपके एक महीने की दवाई. So that this is the newer approach. Now we are giving spacing, more important spacing. Now you may have seen the ads. There should be 3 to 5 years of difference between two children. So these ads are promoted. Why? Because not just terminal contraceptive, we are now promoting spacing also. And pregnancy detection kits are now available with ASHA. So UPT, they don't need to go to doctors or PSC for now detection of pregnancy. The ASHA can bring a kit and they can check for the pregnancy. Promoting quality sterilization services. So in high focus areas, there are packages are given, the economic benefits are given for sterilization, and even the ashas who promote the sterilization, who counsels a couple for sterilization, these are also given some incentives now. Some newer initiatives under family planning are Mission Parivar Vikas, unified software for family planning logistics. See, logistic is very important. What is logistic? It is supply and demand chain. So you can see nowadays Amazon and Flipkart, they are easily taking goods from a remote part of country and delivering within few days, even 7 days. Even in many cities is 1 day delivery program. So why they can deliver? Because they have complex AI which is able to predict what is demand and which area the demand will be more. So they are able to store in their warehouse required amount of quantity, not excess storing or not under storing, and that they are able to deliver fast. So even if the thing is prepared in Bengal, their warehouse in Pune will be keeping it and it will be immediately delivered in Sangli. So these logistics is all depend on software, proper good software and AI capabilities, and these capabilities are now in utilizing family planning services. So where we need OCPs, the government should manufacture at one place, but they will be able to store it and distribute it. So in which area we need more OCPs, in which area we need more condoms, which area will need more copper devices. This has been now monitored by software. So nahi hai abhi available nahi hai, these things will be reduced now. Expansion of choices, as we discussed, progesterone only pill is there, Kenchpromen is there, that is male contraceptive, even injectable contraceptive are there. So these all will be available now. Okay, new packaging now, instead of some dumb poor packaging, attractive packaging, attractive ads to make the young people more attracted to these things. So this is also increasing. And newer media campaigns, so not just posting on radio or television is sufficient. Now they have to post on social media. Instagram is there, WhatsApp is there, so all these things are now been included. What is Mission Parivar Vikas? It has been launched on World Population Day of 11 July 2017, where 146 high fertility districts with total fertility of more than 3. So 146 districts are going to be identified. These are 37 districts from Bihar, 14 districts from Rajasthan, 25 districts from Madhya Pradesh, 2 districts from Chhattisgarh, and 2 districts from Jharkhand, and remaining are from the UP. So all these are added, and where extra work will be done, more focus will be there to reduce the fertility. What are the things been done? A new scheme, Sarthi, awareness on wheels. So mobile van will be there, where there will be choice of contraceptives will be available, there will be media material will be available, and will roam in villages to villages to impart health education. Then injectable contraceptive will be available, because these are easy. They don't need a woman to take a pill every day or use a condom just before conception. These things will be not be required. Just injectable, and for many weeks to months the protection will be there. So these are being rolled out. Then again, as I discussed, logistic management system will be developed, so that online government can monitor how much is going, how much is required, and there will be no shortage at any level. And overall, how this program is happening, whether it is giving the dividend or not, whether these 146 states districts are reducing in fertility or not, all this will be monitored by every half yearly review. A new software, again, it has web application, app, SMS based application. So even if women her OC bills are now reduced, automatic SMS will come, ask even Asha will get SMS that okay, that woman's OC bills are stock should be lowered because 28 days are now been over, so she can refurbish it. So all these software based systems will be there. New communication will be there, will be web page, radio chat shows, toll-free numbers, posters, campaign, celebrity WhatsApp videos, television ads, and even Facebook and Instagram campaigns. Thank you. Hope you understand. This was a quite a long lecture or session. It may be boring for some if you are not understand anything. If you want more clarifications on certain concepts like demographic bonus or demographic burden or any other concept, then you can reach out to me in comments. Okay.